Hi there, and welcome to our webinar, The Highest Startup Capital Campaign Yet, a webinar presented by Food Co-op Initiative. Before we get started, we'll share a little bit about Food Co-op Initiative. We are a national nonprofit that helps food co-ops get started all over the nation. We're working with communities all the way from Sitka, Alaska to Boston, Massachusetts. We've helped over 79 food co-ops get open since we started our work, and we are working currently with over 140 communities nationwide that are working on starting their own food co-ops. Food Co-op Initiative exists to support startup food co-ops at all stages of development. You can call us at any time. You'll see our phone number there on the screen, or email us at info@fci.coop. Signing up for our mailing list and take a look at our extensive resources on our website. That's www.foodcoopinitiative.coop. And all of our support and resources are free to those organizing co-ops. We want to give a shout out to our sponsors who make it possible for us to provide all of this support for startups all over the nation. We work with the USDA, National Cooperative Bank, the National Cooperative Grocers, the Cooperative Fund of New England, and mature food co-ops and individual donors all over the United States. Thank you so much for your support. You make what we do today and every day possible for startups around the country. A few quick points of housekeeping to make sure that today's webinar is effective for you. We are now recording. We are recording this webinar today, and it will be available shortly on the Food Co-op Initiative website, as well as on our YouTube channel. So we have an extensive library of webinars and dozens of topics of webinars for startups that are available both on our website and our YouTube channel. Check them out. They are free. If you learn a lot today and wish you could share them with others at your startup, you can. Just make sure you share this webinar with them through YouTube or our website. We want you to ask questions today. This is live. These sessions are richer when you participate. So if you have questions for us, send them at any time during the session to info@fci.coop. That's info@fci.coop. You can send them anytime, and we'll do our best to answer all of them at the end of the session. All right, let's get started on our topic for this month, the highest capital campaign yet. And if you're new to startups, what we mean by capital campaign is a campaign to raise money from our owners, from the owners of our co-ops, through owner loans, through preferred shares, or nowadays even through a direct public offering, DPOs. So the highest amount that has ever been raised during a owner capital campaign has just been accomplished as of February this year by Green Top Grocery. So Green Top Grocery, their outreach and owner loan campaign manager, Katie Novak, is with us today. We are so excited to hear more about their story and what Katie did to lead them to this great success. So welcome today, and thank you for being here, Katie.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Hey there. And I am Jacqueline Hanna. I am the Food Co-op Development Specialist here at FCI, and I'll be our facilitator today. But we're really going to focus on what Katie has to say. But a couple quick notes to understand about capital campaigns is we're seeing more and more capital campaigns to help fund cooperative grocery stores that are for $1 million or more. We're actually raising $1 million from the owners in our community or more to get these grocery stores open. Why? Well, the number one reason is actually rising development costs all over the country. Equipment costs and construction costs are rising, so that is increasing the costs of our projects. But in addition, the other reason why, number two, is increasing competition and rising expectations. The natural food world is changing rapidly, and everyone from Kroger to Publix to Festival Foods is getting in on it, as well as the chains like Whole Foods and Trader Joe's. And to be able to compete and really offer a grocery store that's going to be fiscally successful, as well as be able to accomplish our vision and mission for our communities, we have to have beautiful, well-run, effective, professional grocery stores that are a pleasure to shop in. So there's no cutting corners when developing our stores if we want to be successful. So that's why we're seeing that combination of reason number one, number two, rising development costs and increasing competition, and the need for customer expectations are high. of what our stores will provide for them to actually shop with us is why we're seeing these higher and higher owner capital campaigns. So let's jump into learning a little bit about GreenTop. Oh, and last question, who is having to raise this $1 million or more? If your food co-op project is 7,000 square feet total or more, it's very likely or very possible that you could see as you're doing your financial pro forma that it becomes necessary to raise $1 million or more from your owners. Not every project, but many, depending on what other subsidies, rent opportunities, and so forth you find. And the larger the project, the more likely you're going to have to do a campaign similar to GreenTop's. Can it be done? Well, we do believe it can be done. Can we raise $1 million from our owners in our communities? We hear from a lot of startups they don't necessarily think it's possible, but what we do know already is mature food co-ops are doing it all the time. Now, those are co-ops that have been open for years, but also just recently some successes to celebrate. Bisman Food Co-op has raised $750,000 in owner loans. Durham Co-op Market raised $850,000 just a year and a half, 2 years ago. East Aurora Cooperative Market just finished raising $900,000 and opened their doors just in the last few weeks. And there actually was another $1 million campaign, River Valley Market, for a startup food co-op, this one in Massachusetts, but this was done pre-recession, about 10 years ago now. So we hadn't seen anyone break the $1 million barrier until GreenTop. So let's see what happened with their project and learn more from Katie. GreenTop started organizing in the spring of 2012 and is located in Bloomington Normal, Illinois. There's an estimated population of about 125,000 residents. The store will be 10,000 square feet total, 6,500 square feet of retail. They are leasing the property. It will be part of a development by a local development firm, and the total project cost is $3.6 million. Looking at their sources and uses real quick, if you're working on your pro forma, this will look familiar. Just to give you a little bit of a feel of where they're finding the money and where it's being used, some things we pointed out is the total owner contribution. In a startup food co-op, usually at least 50% of the project's costs need to come from what's considered the owner's contribution, which includes your member equity, that's the money they're paying in share by share to buy their share of their co-op, and grants and donations. Once those grants or donations are made to your co-op, that money is considered yours and part of your owner's contribution to the project, and member loans. And that could also be, again, preferred shares if your state allows that, or a DPO, a direct public offering, but whatever way in which your owners invest in the project. But that total owner contribution needs to be 50% or higher these days. GreenTop is doing a little over 55% as owner contribution. And then you'll see in addition some other sources there. And their uses are pretty standard. They're going with pretty much industry average right now on dollars per square foot in each of these areas, and coming to a total project cost of about $3.6 million. So GreenTop Grocery built that pro forma and tried all sorts of different ways. You know, you're building it. There's pieces you tweak and move around, trying to figure out how you're going to afford the project. And finally, they came to, we're going to have to raise $1.5 million in owner loans. State of Illinois only allows owner loans, not preferred shares, from our owners, from right here in our community. Is it possible? Well, enter Katie. Let's hear more from Katie about how they made it possible. Katie was already the outreach manager at GreenTop Grocery and had been for a couple years. Is that right, Katie?
Yep, that's right.
Okay. And so she moved from that role to their owner loan campaign manager. So let's go to the next slide. So let's just get to know a little bit about you, Katie. First off is, how long have you been with GreenTop? And as I mentioned, you didn't start in the owner loan campaign manager role. So you can talk about how you came to be part of GreenTop and how long you've been there.
Sure. I started with GreenTop as a volunteer in 2012 on the outreach committee. And about 6 months later, they posted a job for a part-time outreach manager position, which I was lucky enough to get, and served as the outreach manager for about 2.5 years before the owner loan campaign came around. And so then at that point, I was full-time, and I transitioned into the owner loan campaign role.
Okay. And just a quick side note, if you know the answer, because I know a lot of startups ask this, how did they afford you? Do you know anything about how that was handled?
A deal of our great fortune has been due to FCI. We got one of the seed grants that allowed Green Top to hire an outreach manager. So that helped us cover expenses the first year. And then thankfully our owner growth was sufficient enough to justify the salary moving forward.
Excellent, excellent. And one thing I want to mention is a lot of startups don't want to hire. I know there's costs involved, and also I don't know if they reach out far enough. And I'd be interested to just share, how did Green Top find you, and tell us a little about your background, because you don't come into this with no background on how to do this.
Well, I'll start with how Green Top found me. I was taking Pilates locally here in town, and our board president was involved with Green Top, and I was telling her about my sister's store, or my sister's restaurant in Denver. It's a nonprofit restaurant where you pay what you can for organic soup, salad, and pizza. And she's like, "Oh, that sounds awesome. If you liked that, you're going to love Green Top." And so, of course, I did. As soon as she told me about it, I was like, "Sign me up. How do I do this? Like, I want to help." And so that's how I got to where I am. I worked for State Farm Insurance for about 11 years. I had a lot of opportunities there in leadership and management, public relations, and then I worked in the nonprofit sector as well and did fundraising for a local nonprofit. So I had a couple, previous jobs that I didn't know were leading me to this, but they did prepare me to be able to do this.
Excellent. All right, let's move to the next slide. So I have to ask you, when Green Top brought you on and you came on again as the ownership coordinator, ownership manager, so you were doing a lot of outreach, a lot of growing ownership, but did you know all along that you were going to be involved with the Owner Loan campaign, and did you really believe you could raise that kind of money? Did you believe it was actually possible when you got started?
Very good question. So I did not know that I would be running the campaign when I started as the outreach manager. As time kind of evolved, it made sense and had an outreach committee that was very capable and running really well, so they could take on that responsibility and allow me to focus my full time on the Owner Loan campaign. So did I believe it could be done? Yes, I did. Even from the very beginning, when I was hired as the outreach manager, and we had about 100 owners, and they said, "We'd like to get to 500." And I was like, "I don't know how we're going to do that, but I know we're going to do it. We can get to 500 owners." And then, we wanted to get to 1,000. And so when it came time to raise 1.5 million, I knew in my heart that we could get pretty darn close. I knew that we had an infrastructure and a community that supported this, and I was pretty sure we could do it.
All right, so I want to point that out, is that I'm going to keep harping on this belief that it can be done. And so Green Top was lucky early on that they had a person who, and Katie admitted, she didn't know exactly how we're going to get there, but she had some skills and background and a willingness to believe. So let's move on. So you've talked to me. I said, why were you so successful? And one of the things you shared that I thought was really surprising, and it should have been obvious, but I hadn't thought of it, is your credibility as a co-op, that you had built years of credibility before you started the Owner Loan campaign. Can you talk to me about, because we might have some startups listening who are in stage one, who are very early on, and the way you described it is that getting ready for Owner Loan starts way before Owner Loan with this credibility. Can you talk a little bit about what you mean?
And I think I think we might be frozen. I'm going to go ahead and talk. Okay. So yes, absolutely. Preparing for an Owner Loan campaign starts from day one, actually. Every interaction you have with the public is proving to them that you're worthy of them lending you money. And so from very early on with Green Top, we we were trying very hard to be very professional, be very involved in the community, and be responsible to our community. And so when we committed to an event, we showed up for the event. And we didn't bring, a card table and a couple business cards. We brought a nice looking display, and our volunteers were smiling and happy and had green top shirts or aprons on, and we participated and we agreed to be wherever anyone would invite us. At first, if an organization called and said, "Will Green Top come?" we said yes. And sometimes we were doing 2 and 3 and 4 events in a day, and thankfully we had a committee that could do that. But establishing that commitment to the community and demonstrating that you're professional, you're going to follow through, you're going to do what you say, really, I think, led us to the point when we got to ask our owners for money. They believed us. They knew this is really going to happen. You have always proven that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. Although things happen when people get sick and you can't show up where you're supposed to, but those were very few and far between. And when those did happen, we tried to handle them professionally as well.
Excellent. I thought it was such a great point. So it wasn't something, you hadn't built this relationship with the community. You didn't start when you realized you needed to do owner loans. You started from the beginning. So
Absolutely.
Let's talk about prepping, because that's something, again, when we've talked about your success, you go way back before the campaign started. So first there's this credibility, and then you said prepping. And can you talk to us about prepping, and where did you start and how far in advance?
Okay, so we, in hindsight, were lucky because we started prepping about 18 months before the campaign. We didn't know we were prepping 18 months before the campaign, but it worked out that way. So, a good location would become available, and we think, okay, if this location pans out, we can start the owner loan campaign in 3 months. Well, that wouldn't work, and so then we get into that mode again. So all along, we had a team of people doing research, reviewing the campaign toolbox, checking in with other co-ops, getting materials from other co-ops, all this time crafting our communications in hopes of starting an owner loan campaign shortly. And so it didn't work out that way. But what that did do for us is it gave us 18 solid months to prepare. And we didn't have to prepare in urgency. It wasn't like 100 things to do. When it got to the 2-month mark, we had 90 things done, and we had 10 more to do. And so we could just tweak the things that we had been working on, edit them to fit current day, and it really made the prep side of it a lot easier, and it flowed a lot more efficiently.
What tools did you use to prep, and what resources?
We definitely used the campaign toolbox. The Capital Campaign Toolbox. That was our Bible. The committee actually printed copies and carried it around for months. And we busted out at our meetings and we were like, okay, on page 6 it says we should do this and this. And so we really did rely on that. And I think the new version of it is even better than the one that we used. So that's a great resource. And we called other co-ops who had done capital campaigns, and we asked them for their advice. We asked them for their materials, if they would mind sharing what they used. And then we had been gathering supplies and materials from other co-ops at Up and Coming. And so we had a good supply of brochures and pamphlets and flyers and postcards that other co-ops had used. And so that kind of helped us identify how we wanted our marketing materials to look, how we wanted to communicate, what the tone of our material would be.
Excellent. And so just a couple tools that were mentioned here by Katie. The Capital Campaign Toolbox is a free resource that's available on FCI's website at fci.coop. And then, of course, reaching out to peer co-ops, strongly recommended. Most peer startups will offer their information and their materials to you for free if they know you're working on something similar. All right, so we've developed credibility, we've prepped, but we haven't yet prepped the team. And again, you did some pretty innovative stuff with preparing your team. How did you pick who was going to be on the team? How did you build the team? Tell us about building the team.
Okay, so we actually had 2 teams working on our owner loan campaign. The team that was in place for about 18 months we have a name for them. It doesn't matter what the name is, but they were more the behind-the-scenes folks. So they were doing the research, they were reading the toolbox, they were building our database, they were writing our communications, and they started about 18 months out. Now, when I first began working with Green Top, I was lucky to attend the up-and-coming seminar even before I started. And one of the sessions I attended at that seminar was an owner loan campaign seminar. So I knew we were going to have to do this at some point. I didn't know I would be doing it, but I knew that we should be thinking about it. And so from the very beginning, when I encountered an owner or a volunteer who was articulate, passionate, organized, responsible, I was kind of making a mental note of that person and thinking to myself, if and when this happens, we're going to need to tap into that person. There's someone that can help us raise this money. And so at one point I did actually have a physical list of people. And then as we got closer to the beginning of the campaign, probably about 2 months out, I started contacting those people. And I had one-on-one, in-person conversations with those people about the campaign. I shared with them as much information as I could about the campaign, because at this point, this is still foreign to us. We've never done this before. Our owners aren't quite familiar with it, so we did a lot of education with them. And then I talked to them as if it were an interview. Clearly, I didn't tell them it was an interview, but I asked them questions about their skill set, what they like to do, what they don't like to do, how much time can they commit, how passionate are they about Green Top, and ask them about their hobbies and their family, and try to get a feeling for them to know, is this the right fit for a call team? So at this point, I'm trying to find people who are going to actually make phone calls and talk to owners. And we started doing that about 2 months ahead of time. And then we did a pretty extensive training program with these folks. One thing that we did at Jacqueline's advice was to train everyone. So we have board members, we have committee members, we have outreach folks, we have communication folks, we have the owner loan team that's working behind the scenes creating our campaign, and we have callers. And so we wanted to make sure every one of those groups of people understood where they fit in this, what they could communicate about, how to communicate, and how to funnel people to the campaign call team, so that we could, when they got wind of someone who was willing to make a loan, we had a process in place to get in touch with that person. And so we did a series of 3 training sessions. One Jacqueline came over and helped us with, and that was for everyone. We invited all of those people I mentioned before. I think we had close to 50 people in the room. And then beyond that, the groups, tailored down. So then we were talking only to callers. Talking for money, talking about money. Why do we do this campaign? Why do co-ops do this? And then a final and third training on our campaign. How are we keeping track of our data? How are we documenting our call sheets? How does this work when someone makes a loan? What do you do next? What's the paperwork involved? And so I feel like we did a very good job of training. And one thing we also did was hold training. And so if you couldn't attend the session when everyone was there, we had makeup sessions and we had one-on-one sessions. So I didn't let anyone off the hook as far as training goes, because I knew how critical it was for them to have the information and to be able to communicate clearly about the project.
Excellent. And you guys did a phenomenal job. And that was one of my favorite points, is that you guys, I've seen some startups, there's a confusion that members of other committees or board members aren't on the hook for owner loan because they're not on the call team. And Green Top had an amazing awareness throughout the organization that without this campaign's success, there would be no success for Green Top, and that everyone was involved in some level, even if it was just understanding what's going on so they could tell owners. So that was terrific. You guys ended up running, now of course our goal was 1.5 million, and you got started with your first phase, unless you say when, because I don't remember even exactly when, but it ended up being a 2-phase owner loan campaign to meet your ultimate goal. And this is really common for startups, but I'd love to hear the story a little bit about phase 1. Tell us about how long it lasted, what you guys raised, and just about the experience.
So phase one lasted about 8 weeks. We raised just over $900,000, and this took place during the summer, which is not the best time to do an owner loan campaign. We also had a factory with 1,200 employees close during the campaign, so it really wasn't the best time for us to do an owner loan campaign. But if things work out the way they're supposed to. And it was definitely a learning experience. The first few weeks of the campaign were very intense because the database we had built to house our data was malfunctioning, and we were losing data every day. So every day we would enter data, lose it, re-enter, next day re-enter data, and now you have 2 days of data, 3 days of data. So it was very stressful and very nerve-wracking for those first few weeks of the campaign until we got transitioned over to a Google Doc and things ran much more smoothly. And from that point on, intense than anything. It was just it's an all-day, every-day kind of campaign. As the campaign chair, and Jacqueline said this to me after our phase one, and I'm kind of glad she said it after, because beforehand I might have been like, what? I don't want to do that. She said it's like the first 2 months of having a baby. It's all you think about. It's all you do. It's all you can do to just keep your head above water, keep the baby fed and clothed and moving forward and still alive. And so it is all consuming. It was very intense. We did calls 4 nights a week and Saturdays and Sundays, so Monday through Thursday, and we did call times on Saturday and Sunday. And very exciting, very energizing, very fun. We had a great time, and we ended the campaign in October then of last year, phase one of the campaign in October of last year.
And when you guys ended phase one, things seemed to stop to owners on the surface, but what was happening behind the scenes?
So behind the scenes, we knew we had probably raised as much money as we could from the owners we had. There might be some more, minimal amounts coming in, but we knew we needed more owners if we were going to be able to tap into a new pool of people. So focus to get to 1,200 owners. At that point, we were at probably 850, 900 owners, and so we made a push to get to 1,200 owners, which then allowed us, a good number more people to tap into for the second phase of the campaign.
A really important point that, if you guys, that you raised $900,000 from 750, 800 owners was phenomenal as it was. One of the best campaigns we'd ever seen, but you had a second push to make, and you guys really focused down on growing ownership. And I know the board kind of stepped up and took a role then to give the call team a little bit of space to breathe after such an intense couple months.
Yes, absolutely. The board did step in and did a lot of the outreach events, a lot of the social media, and really helped us promote ownership, not only ownership, but the owner loan campaign, during that time frame, which I think was very beneficial.
Okay, great. So tell us about phase two. What did you guys do different? How did it go?
Phase two was shorter. We did a 4-week campaign the month of February, and we raised, this is a little bit out of date, we raised $400,000, so we're just about at $1.3 million. And this phase of the campaign, because we had learned a lot of bumps, or we had already crossed some hurdles and learned a lot of lessons, and we did a lot of work in the interim on the database. So we realized it was too cumbersome, it was too big, that's why we were having issues with it. So we streamlined the database that our callers used. We still used the huge database because it has all the data we need in it. But our callers, they only need name, phone number, did they make a loan, did they not make a loan? They didn't need a lot of data. And so we streamlined that, did a lot of work on that. What I will say about phase two, it was harder in that we called everyone again. So if you made a loan, if you didn't make a loan, if we didn't hear from you, and if you're a new owner, we called all of those people. And calling people who had already made a loan, and calling people who had already told you no is not that fun. It's very hard. It's very draining for the callers. And so we were real anxious to get past those people. Like, let's start calling the new people. It's a lot more fun when you're calling new people.
And where did most of those loans in the second phase come from, though? Did people who'd already loaned, loan owners who were already owners loan, or was it mostly new owners, or a mix?
It was a mix. So we had about 150 loans in phase one. About 50 of those people, I think it was 48 of those people, increased their loan. And then we ended up with about 360 total loans. So then we got about another 100 lenders, new lenders come in.
Excellent. Well, I asked Katie to actually present, build a quick list for me of her do's and her don'ts, the advice at the other end of the most successful startup food co-op owner loan campaign ever, what her tips and advice would be. So I'm going to let Katie run through some of her do's.
So thanks. Planning and testing, I think, are really important. I shared the example about our database and how it caused us some undue stress the first couple weeks of the campaign. And had we tested that with more than one person, we probably would have found out that it was crashing. We just didn't think, oh, if we have 3 people or 5 people on this database at the same time, it won't work right. So test it in real life, in real time, with real people. I think that's really important. And to train and train and train. One thing we haven't talked about yet is that in addition to the training we did ahead of time, we had weekly meetings with the call team. And at those meetings, we would cover any changes in process or procedure, any techniques that were working really well. We talk through what's happening, where we are in the campaign, what buckets are filled. Continual training and talking kept the team energized and engaged. Have backup plans. So we had times when the power went out. So how to use a database when you don't have power for very long, and when the internet is down. We also experienced snowstorms in phase 2 of the campaign. So we had to be prepared for what to do if we have to go on paper. If we have to do this all on paper, or what if we have to do this from home? So think about scenarios that might happen that you could encounter and try to be prepared for them. Select your team like you were hiring. We talked about that a bit. And it's going to be a lot of work. It's long hours. It's 60, 70, 80 hours a week of work. But it's exciting and invigorating. But also remember to take care of yourself. You have to eat. You have to sleep. So that's very important. And then rewarding the team. We had pizza. We had ice cream. We took funny pictures. This is a picture of some green hats that we all wore, and we post them on Facebook. And we took pictures with old school phones of us really calling people, and that I think keeps not only the call team engaged, but it keeps owners engaged. And then remaining positive. If you don't think it can be done, so remaining positive and optimistic, I think, is real important.
All right, let's take a look at Katie's don'ts. We've got a few of those. Not as many, thank goodness. We've got some that I think are real important. So we'll let you share those.
Don't be afraid to email owners. We shied away from email during the majority of the first phase of our campaign. But towards the end, when we were having difficulty reaching people, we thought, well, it's not going to hurt to email them. Let's just try. And we got a really good response. So we relied on email even more in phase 2. And we also used text messaging. Some owners preferred to communicate to us via text message. We made loans via text message, which seems really odd to me, even still, but that's how people wanted to do it. And so, if it's not quite working, try something different, test it out. And don't print all of your materials at once, because things are going to change. And so we didn't print all of our materials at once for financial reasons. We couldn't afford to. So we would print like 100 at a time, and then we could get some money in, and then we could print some more. But what we found is that doing that allowed us to edit that as we moved on in the campaign. We could change our messaging, we could change our targets, and we could be more adaptive. So don't go print everything you need all at one time. I don't think that would be, you'd have to redo some things. And creating a clear communication strategy is very important, and it's very different for each phase of the day in the campaign. It's something you really have to stay on top of, and it's probably best even to have a group of people, a team of people who are working on that. We usually had 2 to 3 people at least who are helping us with our communication. So don't not create a communication plan, because that's very important.
Excellent. Okay. All right, so we've gotten Katie's do's and Katie's don'ts. A couple notes from me, real quick on observing. I've been very honored and lucky to get to observe Green Top's growth. I live in a town about an hour away. Have spent a lot of time with them, and so some things I've observed is hire. This is something I see startups be really uncertain about, or feel they can't find the talent for, or they look for someone last minute. This is something you're going to need paid people for, who are willing and ambitious and not afraid. As Katie pointed out, she at times was working 60, 70 hours a week to create this kind of success. Was it worth it? The results kind of prove it. But it means you're going to need to have a way to pay staff, unless you have somebody, and I've seen it, but it's rare, who is retired and really wants to spend their whole lives doing this for about 3 to 4 months of their life minimum. Believe. One of the things Katie really brought to this is that she believed. She didn't know no one had ever raised $1.5 million through an owner loan campaign before, and she said, we said afterward, maybe that was best, because she didn't know it couldn't be done. But I hear a lot of startups say it can't be done. It can't be done. And if your pro forma says this is the only way you're going to open your store, then the real question is, well, do you believe it can be done and you're going to do whatever it takes to get there, or do you pack it up? And Katie chose to believe. And even on days I think Katie had doubts herself, it's not that they didn't get to 900,000 knowing they needed 1.5 million and having like a day left and think, people are saying, are we really going to raise 600,000 in one day? She didn't have her doubts either. But she understood that it was really an important part of her responsibility to continue to express how far they'd come, her confidence in the project, and that they would overcome. So third, she's amazing at celebrating, and I see this really underestimated everywhere, not just in startups, but celebrating successes. Every single loan, she had that up on. If they were willing to have that announced on Facebook, she did. If there was an increase, it was out there. If goals were met, there was lots of celebrations, silly photos of people you see here jumping in the air. And she really appreciated her team. The call team put in an immense amount of work. I think a lot of startups would be surprised to hear how many volunteers were on her team and how many hours they worked. But it was because Katie made every single person feel so appreciated throughout further work, from bringing the pizza to giving out little awards during the week. So, and then plan for 1 phase, but be ready for 2. I think someplace that Katie and I would agree that Green Top could have even improved their game was that when they got to end of phase 1, the leadership didn't have a clear picture of what it would look like if they didn't make the goal, and what the next steps would be, how long they would pause, when they would start again, and how they would communicate to owners. And so, plan for 1 phase, push for 1 phase. It can possibly be done, but often a 2nd phase is necessary, and make sure your leadership's planning for that. So those are my do's. We'll keep going. Okay, so we already have a whole bunch of questions lining up for Katie. So I'm going to dive in, Katie, and start throwing some questions out to you. But first I want to say, if you have a question, please, again, email it to us at info@fci.coop. Mary from our team at FCI is getting those emails and sending those messages to me so we can get the questions to Katie. And we're going to answer as many as we can today. First question for you, Katie, was how did you use social media to keep up interest and excitement in the campaign?
I think that's critical. Social media played a really big role in our campaign. We were posting about the campaign minimum of 3 times a day. And those were generic, like, hey, we're calling you tonight. Hey, we're at this amount. Hey, don't forget we're still doing the campaign. In addition, we were posting like you said, every person who would allow us to make their post or make their loan public. And that became part of our process, to ask every lender, are you okay with us posting this on Facebook or making your loan public? And some aren't, and that's totally okay. But you can still say, we got a $1,000 loan today, or we got a $10,000 loan. You don't have to say the person's name, and you can still get value out of social media value out of that exchange. We took pictures of the call team. Like you said, we did funny things. We were always putting hats on, or I took pictures of them eating ice cream or having pizza or on the phone. And so we just kept talking about the campaign. So social media really was very huge for us. In addition, we did a lot of email. Ben Bell from CDS told us that you're emailing enough when people start telling you you're emailing too much. That's the right amount. And so we during the meat of the campaign. Towards the end of the campaign, we emailed every day. So people were hearing about Green Top all day, every day. Someone compared it to an NPR campaign where, they just keep talking, send us, call with your donation. And so it's kind of like that. It's that involved and that intense. And so we didn't want people to forget about it.
Excellent. All right, we've got another question here for you. It says, what spreadsheet or database did you use? I hear that question a lot. How did you guys develop this database? Is this something out there that they can use? How did that go for you guys?
Well, our database is really intense. It is big and cumbersome and awesome. It has like 10 pages and all these tabs, and now we've got 1,300 owners' information in there. It's very overwhelming. And so what I've done previously is share with you the subheadings, the topics, and the titles of the spreadsheet, so then you could see how we organized our data. So it's a Google sheet that is shareable among the team, and then we have a second sheet shareable among the call team that we use primarily for making calls. So we can get more information to you about that, but it is this spreadsheet we're lucky to have a board that's really awesome and great at what they do, and so it's very involved. It does a lot of calculations, and it told us everything we ever wanted to know, which was fantastic and helped us a lot as far as record keeping goes. But it's a lot. It's cumbersome and involved, and it's too much probably to describe in a webinar, but we could send it out.
Okay, so if you guys are looking for a copy of at least the tabs and to understand more about that spreadsheet, you can email us at info@fci.coop, and we'll get some of those resources from Katie and out to people if you email and ask us about that. So just send us a note if you really want to see some of that database work that Katie did. All right, we got lots of questions. We see you guys use that thermometer chart, and there's actually, which I love, if you notice the chart, you can see it on the page now. It's a key, and it says owner loans are key to opening our doors. And so it's actually a key they were filling in, and it says, how important was it to share and update this regularly?
I think it was very important, and we used that key in every social media post we could. And when an owner made a loan in person, we asked them to take a picture with that key. So we had a hard copy of it that we were like using a Sharpie to update, but then we had electronic versions of it too. So when we had an owner come in and make a loan, we'd say, hey, you want to pose with the key, just like we were posting this picture here. And then we would post that on social media and to see like real-time updates as that line moved up the key.
Excellent. Yeah, I think it was important, and also, there were phases for Green Top. I think a lot of people, now that you guys have gotten to their side, are like, well, Green Top, they did this amazing. I'm like, no, Green Top ran into a lot of the same problems the rest of you are, and one of the, is that sometimes that number wasn't going up. It takes a lot of loans to make that line move. Yeah. But you guys were still posting it. You weren't hiding it, which I loved.
Yep. And we were honest too, and we'd say, we didn't get many loans today, or things that we didn't see that call activity tonight. You guys must be busy out there, and we were clear that we were still working on it. We were still at the phone making phone calls, so we certainly didn't hide. No.
Excellent. So we got more. I don't want to clog us up here. Let's see. Did local media cover cover the owner loan campaign or any of your events, and did you do anything to make that happen?
Local media covered our kickoff. So when we started the campaign, we did an event at the location of our future store, which is currently a greenfield, and we had a tent. Media wasn't invited to that because it was for owners only, but we did send a press release out afterwards and got some coverage of it, which was great. And then we did continue to get calls from media throughout the process. How are we doing? How's it going? You know, what's your timeline look like? In phase 2, we had an interesting situation with our local newspaper, who basically posted an editorial that said, "You ought to just quit now, Green Top. This ain't never going to happen." And we were like, "What did they say? I can't believe this." You know, we were just besides ourselves. But hindsight, it was a blessing. All media is good media. And I think it really lit a fire under our owners. Like, how dare you say that, media outlet? You know, you don't know what we're capable of. And, you know, sure enough, a few weeks later, they printed congratulations to Green Top on, you know, breaking national records or whatever it was they posted. So we also did an event in phase 2. We were hiring our general manager. During phase 2, he was coming on board. So we did do an event, and we invited the media to that. So come meet our new general manager, and we had local TV station.
Excellent. All right. So this is the standard question. So one of those things, if you get involved in owner loan campaigns, you're going to hear over and over again is what % of your owners have made loans so far, and what's the average loan? So where did you guys fall? What % of owners eventually made a loan, and what was your average loan amount?
So we are at 261 loans. So I think we're close to 20-25%. We are right on target for what they tell you. Is that 20 to 25% of your owners will make a loan. Our average loan size is right around $5,000. We were hoping for an average loan size of about $6,500. But we were shooting for 250 lenders. So we surpassed the number of lenders, but we fell short on the average loan size for our projection.
And you guys are still at the high end of what we're seeing nationally. About 3,500 to 5,000 for startups is the average size loan. Sometimes we're seeing a little higher, but you guys are still at the high end. And I think it's really good to notice that, like Katie pointed that out. Katie's actually really good at talking to larger lenders, and that's coming from me, and pursuing them. And still, it was hard work to get to that 5,000 average loan. So we find that the important thing is to get the higher percentage of people participating. That seems to be key. Okay, we've got some more questions. One of them is, how important, we hear this question every time Katie and I talk to folks about their campaign. How important do you really think it was to have those set time periods? Why did you stop and start, not just keep going until you hit the number?
Well, there's a few reasons. First of all, urgency makes a difference. When there's a deadline, people respond. And I've used this example before, but even when you're doing a t-shirt order, you know, if the deadline is today, half of the orders for the t-shirts are going to come in today because people know they have to act now. It's not going to get the t-shirt. So just having a deadline, I think, is human nature for us to respond. When there's a cutoff, if we're going to respond, we're going to do it by the deadline. And so I think it's important because of the urgency it creates and the action that follows. Secondly, I think it's important because this is very intense work and you have to take a break. The people working on this campaign during phase 1, they couldn't have gone on much longer. We were just barely, you know, oh, hello, this is Green Top by the end, you know. It's tiring and it's all consuming and it's real exciting and fun, but it's not a momentum, it's not a pace that you can maintain for, you know, 9 months. And so breaking it up for us allowed us to kind of rejuvenate, re-energize, change our marketing, change our communication, and helped us kind of regroup. The other thing I was thinking about is that it gives owners a break too, because you're talking about this all the time. And they're going to get tired of it. You know, at some point they're going to be like, please, I've heard enough about this owner loan campaign. So giving them a break from talking about it constantly was beneficial too.
Excellent. You're going to love this next one, Katie. What can the board do to be supportive and help the campaign be successful for the coordinator?
Good question. Our board did a really good job of supporting the call team. So we had board members who were bringing in food at night for us, or ordering dinner, sending us cookies. They were very supportive in that way, but I think their support probably is most evident early on in the planning, the preparation, the budget approval, that side of things. And so as the campaign goes on, their involvement, we're making progress, talking to their friends and neighbors, and still talking, about it at their Rotary Club or their book club. So there really are a lot of ways that board members can be involved, and we had board members on our call team. So if there were board members who were interested and capable and willing, they were sitting right there with us making phone calls.
Excellent. We have one last question. When people became owners, did they know that they might be asked to make a loan later? Did that hit them as a surprise when you guys called?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it is something we tried to address early on because we knew it was coming, but I don't think you can talk about it enough. So leading up to our campaign, we did a series of newsletter articles. So once a month, they're in our newsletter. There would be why an owner loan campaign? How does an owner loan campaign work? What other co-ops have done successful owner loan campaigns? So leading up to the campaign, we did a good job of that. Prior to that, we did talk about it. Loan campaign. We didn't really talk in detail, and it was very foreign to our owners. So yes, sometimes people were like, "Hey, I already gave you $200. Like, I don't know what else you want from me here." But we also did a very good job of training our callers to talk about why we do an owner loan campaign, how this is different, how it's a benefit for them. So there are ways to manage that, but it is something, hindsight, I wish we could have talked about more frequently and in more detail so owners were a little more prepared.
Clearly, owners so I think
knew more.
You guys did a good job of telling people ahead of time, and yet still you guys could have done it even more. So, all right, well, we're going to wrap up our time. There is one or two questions I didn't get to, but we're going to wrap up our time with Katie to keep this to an hour. Today's slides will be available at foodcoopinitiative.coop/slides. So you can find those on our websites if you want just the slides. And remember, of course, we'll be posting this to our YouTube channel. We'll put that link out as soon as it's up on our Facebook page. So if you're a Facebook fan, if you're not one, become one. And due to popular demand, due to the amazing success of Green Tap Grocery's campaign and Katie's work, Katie has agreed to be back in August with us. And we're actually going to do Owner Capital Campaigns 201 and 202. We're setting the dates for the second half of August. The dates will be out soon. And the goal of these is going to be Katie really delving into the nitty-gritty of what it takes to run a successful campaign, kind of in the way she wished she had known exactly when she got started, really meant for people who are going to be running the campaign. Is that the right take, Katie?
Yep, that sounds great.
Okay, so we're going to spend 2 more hours with her. So if you have more questions about nitty-gritties of running a campaign, if I didn't get to your question, we're going to address them in August. So we'll be back with Katie then. So next slide, please. Okay, well, I wanted to say thank you. Thank you to Green Tap Grocery again in Normal, Illinois. They are breaking ground in just 2 weeks on their site. So excited for them. And a special, special thank you to Katie. We are so grateful for your knowledge and for your time. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
All right, everyone. Have a good day. Give us a call if you have questions. Get those startups open.